Our source material opens with a scene that just immediately grips you. Imagine this. A calm morning dive.
Right.
Sun's just starting to warm the ocean surface. You're with your best friend, doing what you love.
The dream scenario.
Exactly. Then a roar. An unseen force just rips your friend away. Bizarre evidence starts appearing, and just as you're starting to process the horror, boom, a sudden, terrifying government cover-up descends.
It's a lot.
Yeah. What if the depths of our oceans, at least in certain narratives like this one, hold secrets far stranger, far more ancient than we can possibly comprehend?
It's definitely a chilling thought, isn't it? The idea that what we don't know, or maybe what we're not allowed to know, could be lurking just beneath the surface. And our sources today, well, they invite us to explore that very premise.
They absolutely do. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a truly extraordinary narrative presented in our source material. This story, it's drawn from claims within an old MP3 recording. It's titled, Proof Living Dinosaur Killed by Military, Government Cover-Up, 2016.mp3.
Quite a title.
Right. And it purports to contain recently discovered photographic negatives, eyewitness accounts, all supposedly from this mysterious archive found behind a locked door in an abandoned industrial building. It takes us back to 1980, Santa Barbara, California.
Okay.
And it aims to unravel the disturbing death of a diver, the mysterious creature implicated, and the layers of suppression that supposedly followed.
So our mission here really is to unpack this complex narrative as it's laid out in the sources for you. We'll highlight the most compelling details, the surprising connections that the source material suggests, inviting you to consider how a story like this might challenge our perceptions, of the world's hidden depths.
Right.
And maybe the lengths taken to keep certain truth buried.
That's right. As we delve into these fascinating sources, you'll see how the sequence of events from just a casual lobster hunt gone horribly wrong, to a desperate search for answers, and finally, to the chilling implications of what the story claims truly lurked beneath the waves. You'll see how it all starts to connect. Okay, let's unpack this compelling narrative.
Let's do it.
So our story begins with two lifelong friends, Hans Ulrich and Rick McKever, and they grew up together in southern New Jersey, bonded over a shared love for diving back in high school.
Those formative years where passions really take hold.
Exactly. And they were so devoted to this dream, they actually postponed careers after college. Decided instead, let's move to the West Coast, fully embrace their diving aspirations. They eventually settle in Santa Barbara.
Just two young guys really living that coastal dream.
Yeah.
The sources describe them working as deckhands, just trying to get time in the water, living in a tiny one-room shack, apparently, just looking for any opportunity to pursue their passion. It speaks to a certain, dedication to their dream.
It really does. And that opportunity arrived one night at a marina bar. The source material tells us they met this guy, Leonard Ryberg, described as a wealthy boat owner.
Okay.
Ryberg, the story paints him as a bit loud, dressed impeccably, ends up buying them drinks, and he offers them a dive on a sunken Liberty ship called the Allen.
Liberty shipwreck. Familiar territory for divers.
For those unfamiliar, these were common cargo vessels built during WWII, and a lot became popular artificial reefs or wreck dives. The Allen was apparently known to locals, and Hans and Rick had actually dived it before.
Okay, so they knew the site.
They did. The catch. Ryberg just wanted them to bring him up some lobsters for lunch.
Fair enough trade, seems like.
Yeah. This dive was set for March 27th, 1980. Ryberg saw it as an easy way to get fresh lobster. Hans and Rick saw it as a free dive on a known wreck. A simple exchange, as the story recounts.
That turned out to be anything but simple.
Exactly. So according to the narrative, they put out to sea around 9 a.m. Conditions seemed ideal, Beautiful day, visibility, they said, was between 30 and 60 feet.
Pretty good viz.
Yeah. They were about 90 feet above the wreck itself, feeling good despite admittedly being pretty heavily hungover from the night before.
Classic. But still focused, hopefully.
Well, Hans describes how they were very close, like 5 to 7 feet apart, as good dive partners should be, always keeping each other in sight.
Standard procedure.
Good. And that's when, the source claims, the tranquility just shattered. They heard this strange, roar, it's described as, from nowhere.
A roar. Underwater.
Yeah, loud and unnerving. The story depicts them pausing, looking around, trying not to panic, right? But seeing nothing that could account for that kind of sound in the silent depth.
That's deeply unsettling. Water transmits sound differently, but a roar.
I know, but the weirdness, as the recording recounts, it didn't stop there. Within about 30 seconds, they experienced what Hans called an extreme thermal climb.
A thermocline, like a sudden temperature change.
Exactly, but extreme. A sudden, drastic change in water temperature, which is highly unusual that deep, that fast. And simultaneously, the water visibility just dropped. Significantly. As if the water itself was reacting to something unseen.
Wow. Okay, so it wasn't just a sound. It was an environmental shift.
Yeah.
That's fascinating and, frankly, quite unsettling, how quickly it supposedly shifted.
Totally. It wasn't just one thing. It was like this whole sensory overload signaling something was profoundly wrong, pushing the boundaries of what even these experienced divers understood about the ocean.
Yeah, that's beyond normal dive conditions.
And then the terror hits. Suddenly, something violent from behind them. McKever turned, and Hans saw immediate signs of physical panic on his friend's face, just sheer terror.
Oh, no.
Before Hans could even react, the narrative claims something literally ripped him away.
Ripped him away? What does that even mean?
Hans described the turbulence from whatever it was as like a wave hitting me, and then, horrifyingly, all of a sudden there was like just red around me.
Oh, God.
Rick, his best friend, was just gone.
You can only imagine the sheer, immediate panic.
Yeah.
Just terrifying. Hans couldn't find Rick. All he saw was red. The source describes his heart pounding so loud it was in his eardrums. He forced himself to ascend rapidly, too rapidly.
Made it about 3/4 of the way up, took one last desperate look down for his friend. But the narrative states there was just nothing there.
The abruptness of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely chilling.
So when Hans surfaced, he was screaming hysterical. He told Ryberg and his crew, "We gotta go. We're all gonna die."
Understandable reaction, given what he described.
And he was suffering from the bends, decompression sickness, from that rapid ascent, a clear sign of extreme distress. So Ryberg immediately called the Coast Guard, reporting simply a diver down.
Okay, emergency call goes out.
Yeah.
And this is where the threads of the alleged cover-up, according to our source, start to emerge.
Exactly. A young freelance news photographer named Lee Van Ast intercepted the Coast Guard radio chatter. He heard them reporting a shark attack victim, which, immediately piqued his interest.
Shark attack gets attention. He smells the story.
Right. Eager for a scoop, he rushed down to the pier where Ryberg's boat was docking.
Gets himself into position.
Van Est, as the story goes, managed to flash his credentials, got permission to take unobstructed photos of the evidence that was being laid out for the coroner and the police.
Okay, so he got access. What did he photograph?
And the evidence, based on the description in the source, it was truly troubling. There was, quote, nothing left of McKever but trace evidence.
Nothing left. Just traces.
His wetsuit was shredded, the regulator hose torn, his tank severely scraped, and this mangled gear was found about 100 yards away from the Allen wreck.
100 yards. That suggests being dragged. Or an incredibly violent encounter. Not just unusual, it implies immense destructive force.
But here's the kicker. The most striking piece of evidence described was a massive talon with a hunk of fleshy cuticle still attached.
A talon, not a tooth.
A talon. It measured an astonishing 9 inches along the curve.
9 inches. That's enormous.
Yeah. The search and rescue team, reportedly as amazed as Van Est, specifically asked if it was maybe a deformed shark tooth. But they noted that even if it was, its sheer size made the animal a total freak of nature. The narrative really emphasizes the disbelief,
I can imagine a 9-inch talon doesn't fit any known marine predator.
Van Ast immediately recognized these photos were once-in-a-lifetime stuff. Huge story potential.
Absolutely.
But upon his return to the news station, the narrative claims this man in a suit shows up. Just appears. Takes all the films, the developed pictures, the negatives, everything.
Whoa, just like that. Seize the evidence.
Gone. The station, despite having this compelling, bizarre story, ran nothing on the 11 p.m. news. Zero.
Nothing. After a diver death and such strange findings.
Nothing. And the next day, the incident was reported simply as a boating mishap, completely downplaying the violence McKever suffered. And both the news station and the search team, the story claims, refused to answer any further questions. Clammed up.
Wow. Okay, so that sequence, as presented in the sources, it paints a very clear picture of immediate information control. Rapid and thorough suppression.
Definitely sounds like it.
It raises the big question, right? Why? Why the clampdown? The evidence clearly pointed to something far more sinister than a boating accident, yet the official narrative was quickly cemented, disseminated.
Yeah.
This feels like a classic, multi-pronged approach to information control, if the story is accurate. Direct confiscation of evidence, manipulating official narratives, and then, as we'll see, personal intimidation. This playbook often suggests the stakes are astronomically high.
Or at least that's what the story suggests. And it's infuriating, isn't it, thinking about Hans himself?
Oh, absolutely. The trauma.
The narrative recounts he fell into a deep depression, couldn't even attend Rick's funeral, lost his lust for life, as they put it. He was just outraged by what he called the complete sham of the news reports.
He knew what he thought.
Exactly. He stated emphatically it was not a boating accident, it was something much more. He felt like obligated to get the truth to the surface.
So what did he do? He couldn't just let it go.
No. So Hans sought out a reporter at the Santa Barbara Herald-Leader. It was a smaller, maybe more aggressive, local paper. He found a young reporter who, for the first time since the incident, actually listened to him, believed his story.
Finally, someone taking him seriously.
Yeah, the narrative says the reporter wasn't dismissing him, was writing things down. It must have felt like a glimmer of hope for Hans, that maybe the truth could still emerge.
A huge relief, I'd imagine, even just being heard.
But that hope, according to the story, was very short-lived. One night, Hans gets an anonymous phone call. A strange voice tells him flat out, "Shut your mouth."
Just like that. Direct threat.
And then the really chilling part. The caller mentions his family members' full names and addresses, people back on the East Coast.
Oh, that's terrifying. How would they know that?
Exactly. Hans was frozen. He knew nobody out there, outside his immediate circle, knew about his family back home. The caller then instructed him to get all this stuff together and get the hell out of town.
Wow. Explicit instructions. Leave or else.
Hans, now genuinely scared, believed something really big is happening here, something far bigger than him. Packed his car, left Santa Barbara the very next morning, just wanted to leave the whole damn thing behind him.
Can't blame him. But the sources provide one more intriguing detail about his departure, right?
They do. Neighbors reported Hans left in a new car, something he clearly couldn't have afforded given his documented financial hardship at the time.
A new car. Where'd that come from?
Well, the source claims California motor vehicle records reportedly confirmed his ownership later, which just raises the obvious question. Where did that money come from?
It strongly suggests, within this narrative at least, a payoff. Silence money. Get out of town money.
Yeah, a direct payoff for his silence and swift departure. It all fits the cover-up narrative being presented.
So if you're connecting the dots in this intricate story, you can feel the pressure building, right? This methodical attempt to suppress information.
Absolutely. But the story of what might lurk in the deep doesn't end with Hans's forced departure, because just weeks later, the deep was about to make another, even more dramatic statement, as our sources suggest.
Okay, what happened next?
A shuttle boat, the Huguenot, sank 6 miles off the Santa Barbara coast. It was departing the deep drilling rig Blue Thalassa.
Blue Thalassa.
Oh.
That name comes up again.
It does. There was a short, harrowing distress call reported just before it went down. The message, "We've been rammed."
Rammed? By what? Out there?
Good question. And disturbingly, the source claims there were no survivors. 0. Only a single human leg was ever recovered.
Oh my God. That's brutal.
Yeah. The area, according to the narrative, was immediately declared restricted. Civilian rescue craft trying to help were waved off by a growing fleet of Navy and Coast Guard vessels.
Heavy official presence instantly sealing off the zone.
And the wreckage they eventually found. The Huguenot was described as broken into a lot of pieces, which seemed to confirm that ramming report, despite the incident occurring in very deep water.
The force implied to break up a boat like that.
Yeah.
It's astonishing.
And this incident, you see, occurred near Blue Thalassa, which the source describes as this state-of-the-art rig drilling in waters 2 miles deep. At that time, reportedly the deepest operational rig in the world.
2 miles down, pushing the boundaries of exploration.
And here's where it gets really interesting. As the narrative weaves these events together, geologists on board Blue Thalassa apparently found the drilling unusual. They discovered a very rare pocket of Silurian limestone.
Silurian limestone. That's ancient, like 430 million years old.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the source implies this type of rock is usually found in much shallower ancient seas. Finding it this deep hints at a very different geological past for this location.
So below thousands of feet of sediment, this ancient pocket.
Right. But the unstable Pacific coast plate setup, the story goes, then caused the collapse of the cavern directly beneath the rig. Essentially, drilling opened a door into this ancient pocket.
A key moment in the narrative. Human exploration inadvertently triggering something profound. or unleashing something.
And what came out of that opened pocket, according to the sources? In the days following the rupture, crew members started reporting strange sounds at night.
Ah, the sounds again.
Yeah, described as almost like a whale, but more aggressive, something akin to a grinding foghorn.
Aggressive than a whale. Creepy.
Not long after these sounds started, Rick McCaver met his end.
The timing connects.
And as the story continues, the Navy, it turns out, began tracking a large sonar signature in the area, 45 feet in length, consistent with a massive sea creature.
45 feet. That's a truly significant signature. That's huge.
It is indeed. And what did the Navy do in response to this massive sonar signature? The narrative claims they quickly released 15 trained attack dolphins into the area.
Golf. Seriously.
That's the claim.
Yeah.
Reportedly equipped with snout-mounted hypodermic glands with a CO2 charge for delivering gruesome and deadly injections.
Whoa, okay. Weaponized dolphins. That's a whole other level.
And ostensibly, they identified their target using the scent from that detached talon supposedly found near McKever's gear. A grim and direct connection back to the first incident.
Using the creature's own part against it. Dark. So, did it work?
Well, the story suggests it must have been one hell of a battle down there in the depths. Of the original 15 dolphins sent out, only 9 returned.
Lost 6 dolphins.
And all 9 that came back had discharged their CO2 weapons. The signal to their handlers that they had found, engaged, and killed a target.
A target. They think they got it. And the analysis of the claw, the talon, did that lead anywhere?
According to the sources, yes. Eventually, it led to a best guess as to its origin, a creature resembling a massive Montieltsuchus arutocomposi.
Montieltsuchus arutocomposi. That sounds made up, frankly, but the implication is clear.
Yeah, the name itself, likely fictional, suggests a composite of known ancient or deep-sea life forms, but scaled up enormously. It implies a colossal, highly evolved predator.
Describe how.
Described in the sources as having longer limbs and more agile claws than any known creature, and its behavior also reportedly showed uncanny intelligence.
Intelligence, not just a brute predator.
That's the claim, which makes the entire account even more unsettling, if you think about it.
Definitely. So, is that where the evidence trail ends in this narrative?
Yeah.
The talon, the sonar, the dolphins?
Not quite. There's one final piece. In late August of that same year, 1980, the final piece of alleged evidence surfaced. An 8mm film, purportedly shot by a Mexican fishing boat down in the Gulf, appeared.
8mm film from a fishing boat. What did it show?
It showed a decayed mass tangled in its nets, described as the head and upper torso of a huge creature.
The creature? Or a creature?
The description matches. Its single remaining forelimb dangled, showing massive claws similar to the one recovered in the McKever incident.
Wow. Physical evidence, potentially. Decayed, but still.
And maybe the most disturbing detail contained within the fleshy mass were 2 leathery eggs, described as being the size of human heads.
Eggs. Oh, wow. That changes things.
Right. This truly completes the horrifying narrative presented in the sources. The creature wasn't just a freak of nature. The story frames it as this deeply ancient, highly intelligent, incredibly dangerous being.
And the eggs, in this context, they suggest this might not have been an isolated incident.
Yeah.
Or that this creature represented the potential for something far more widespread in the hidden depths. Maybe the one killed by the dolphins wasn't the only one.
Exactly. So we followed this chilling trail through a very compelling narrative from Rick McCaver's terrifying last dive, through the suppressed evidence, Hans Ulrich's forced silence, to this massive deep-sea drilling operation, a sunken boat, a naval deployment of, well, attack dolphins.
It's quite a sequence of events.
All the pieces within this story, they point towards a singular, monstrous creature, the like of which shouldn't exist, finally surfacing perhaps with its own gruesome proof. This deep dive has really pulled back the curtain on a story that, according to its own premise, was clearly designed to be forgotten.
And this narrative really raises an important question for you, our listener. What does it truly mean when our deepest explorations, whether they're for resources or just for knowledge, inadvertently uncover something utterly ancient and profoundly dangerous, as this story suggests?
Yeah.
And maybe more pointedly, how far might the world's powers or some powers go to contain such a reality, even if it means silencing those who just stumble upon the truth? It's a sobering thought about the secrets our planet might still hold, or at least the stories we tell ourselves about them.